I am the man Aeneas, of whom Virgil sung, forced by fate and haughty Juno's unrelenting hate, expelled and exiled, left my father's shore. I bore long labors both by sea and land, and in that Trojan war. All this before I won the Latin realm and built a glorious and distant town.
Rome, if any nation deserves the privilege of claiming a divine ancestry, that nation is our own. When we claim that Mars himself was our first parent, the father of Romulus, the founder of our city, all other nations of the world might as well accept it, as readily as they accept Rome's imperial dominion.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Famous Men of Rome. Please allow me, the legendary hero Aeneas,
and me, the famous historian Livy,
to take you on a journey in 3 parts. We will chart the Roman age of kings,
the glory of the Republic,
and the power of the Western Empire.
Please enjoy the performance.
Of the brave Aeneas, who sailed the great sea in search of a new home, a new Troy, a country to one day rule the world. I founded Rome. My name is Romulus. Welcome one, welcome all. Come to my city for refuge. Be you wanderer, fugitive, or refugee, you shall find a home in this city. Rome is a city worthy of your desires. O admirable Latin race, we will be the forebearers of truly honorable, majestic, and brave men. You have chosen to pursue greatness, for that you are truly praiseworthy. The glory of our city will be incomparable to all other cities. Today we are laying out the foundations of victory, dignity, peace, and life.
Thank you, great Romulus. We are forever your servants, soldiers, and loyal companions.
But tell us, where shall we find good wives to marry? None will come to us because we are known as criminals and vagrants. Who on earth will marry us?
What do we need that we cannot steal from our neighbors, the Sabines? We will invite them to a festival of games and feasting. And at the sound of the horn, every man will take a woman and ride back to Rome.
And this they did, causing King Taucerus and the Sabines to make war. He and Romulus, with the grace of the Sabine women, were able to make peace before much harm was done. Rome prospered and the Senate was formed to govern it. Romulus would become the first king of what would become a grand civilization.
Rome became a civilization that not only acted grandly but looked grand. Many splendid buildings were erected by the great King Tarquin.
I am Tarquin, and to anyone with the name Tarquin, power is the breath of life. To some, our name is ill omened, dangerous to liberty, but I did many great things. Here you see my racetrack, the Circus Maximus.
After Tarquin, a man named Servius Tullius ruled Rome with the kindness and gentleness. But one of the sons of Tarquin plotted against him. His name was Servius Tullius.
This impostor Servius Tullius should not stand in my way any longer! I shall be king over his dead body!
And Tarquin the Proud did as he said. Servius Tullius was killed. Tarquin the Proud would be the last king of Rome because he was such a cruel tyrant. One of his sons, named Sextus, insulted a young lady of the royal court named Lucretia. She was so ashamed she plunged a dagger into her heart. At this outrage, a leader arose to defy the tyranny of Sextus and Tarquin the Proud. His name was Junius Brutus.
By this girl's blood, none more chased till a tyrant wronged her. And by the gods, I swear that with sword and fire and whatever else come in strength in my arm, I will pursue Lucius Tarquinius the Proud, his wicked wife, and all his children. And never again will I let them or any other man be king in Rome.
We will not suffer one man to rule Rome!
Junius Brutus was given a splendid funeral, as those early days of the Republic could afford. But even greater tribute to him was the nation's sorrow, of which the most poignant expression was given by the women of Rome, who mourned him for a year as a father. It was their special tribute to him of his fierce championship of a women's honor.
Thus the age of kings ended. The people would suffer no single man to rule Rome. Instead, they put their faith in the rule of the Senate. But Rome's ousted King Tarquin would not go down without a fight. So he joined forces with the king of Clusium, Lars Porsena, to try to take back his throne. Porsena and his army marched to Rome, but there encountered some difficulty.
The only way for the Etruscans to enter our city is by crossing the Supplicant Bridge. Consul, what should we do?
We must cut down the bridge. It is the only way to save our city. As many who can begin dismantling the bridge.
The Etruscans are in sight. We're running out of time.
If only someone could hold them off while we finish tearing down the bridge.
Who could do that? A whole army against one man?
Consul, give me 2 good men and I will defend the bridge and hold the enemy at bay.
Raymond hold back thousands.
We can easily defeat 3 Romans. The city will be ours.
Spurius, Titus, the bridge is about to fall. Run back to the other side and I will stay and defend it.
The bridge is down, Horatius!
Round turns he as not deigning those craven ranks to see. Not spake to Lars Porsena, to Sextus not spake he. But he saw on Palatinus the white porch of his home, and he stayed to the noble river that rolls by the towers of Rome.
O Tiber, Father Tiber, to whom the Romans pray, a Roman's life, a Roman's arm, take thou charge this day.
So he stayed and speaking cheap, the good sword by his side, and with his harness on his back, plunged headlong into tide.
When I emerged on dry earth, the leaders of Rome were there to greet me, and even Lars Porsena's prayers for my safety were answered. With shouts and clapping and weeping, I returned home through the river gate, borne on the shoulders of the crowd.
Horatius was well rewarded for his bravery and had a statue erected in his honor. Porsenna decided to keep his army on the other side of Tiber. His plan was to besiege Rome, preventing food from being sent in, thus forcing the Romans to surrender. But there was one thing Porsenna had not accounted for: Gaius Mucius.
I have devised a way to save our city. I will march right into the Etruscan camp, find Porsenna, and kill him. That put an end to the siege.
Here's your pay. Go tell your troops to prepare for guard duty at the river. Distribute this money to your men and report back to me.
Oh no, he's killed the secretary!
Who are you? Why have you done this? I am a Roman citizen. I have came here to kill you because you are envy of Rome. I have failed, but more will come who will not fail. Your life will be in constant danger, Lars Porsenna, and you will one day be killed when you least expect it.
I shall burn you to death if you don't tell me you want all Rome's plans to kill me.
Behold, how little we Romans care for pain when it is to defend our country.
I am amazed. This man's heart is fearless and cannot be bound. Set him free.
In return for your kindness, I now tell you of my own free will that I would not under threat of punishment. Know that 300 young Roman men have pledged an oath to kill you. The lot fell first to me. I have failed, but more will come until Rome is finally free of you.
Porsenna was so frightened at these words that he immediately sent messengers to make peace.
Peace did not last. War broke open with the Aequians to the east. The Romans were easily winning. However, the Romans were easily winning. When the Aequians lured some Roman horsemen into a narrow ravine. It was a trap. One horseman did manage to escape. He returned to Rome to inform the Senate of the dire situation.
We were following the Aequians in pursuit when they led us into a ravine. They barricaded the exits and most of the army was trapped. The Aequians are surrounding Rome's horsemen at the top of the hills. There's little grass for the horses, sparing water, and not much food. If we don't act quickly, they will die.
For a while, the Senate saw little hope, but then one senator spoke up.
There is only one man who can save us. Let us go to Cincinnatus.
And so they did. Cincinnatus shall tell you the rest of the story.
When the senators came to find me, I was plowing my fields. Because Rome needed me, I left my plow and gathered faithful men for my army. Before the sun set that evening, we marched to the hills where the Romans were trapped. In the quiet stillness of dawn, we formed ranks all around the Aequians. It was now they who were trapped. They fought desperately, but in vain. Rome was victorious again. I chose to spare their lives, but not without them passing over the others. The joy of my countrymen was so great, they wanted to make me king. I was proudly forwarded and paraded into the city. But I knew my role, so I gave up my power and went back to farming.
the Roman Republic was under a great threat, they appointed a dictator to have supreme power, but only for as long as it took to secure Roman safety. Our next famous Roman is Camillus. Camillus was a great soldier and was made dictator of Rome in a time of great danger. But he ran into trouble on one occasion. He was accused by the leaders of being greedy with spoils of war. Such a crime was very serious, and it went to trial. Seeing a trial before a tribunal as a disgrace, he chose a life of exile. As he passed through Rome's gates, he prayed the gods would do something so terrible that the Romans would be forced to beg for his return.
My prayer was answered. Rome was invaded by the Gauls. They swooped down into Italy, defeating all Rome's armies along the way. Most of the Romans deserted the city, leaving it wide open for the enemy to pillage. They destroyed most of the city, but could not drive out a small band of Roman senators and fighters in the stronghold in the capital. Meanwhile, the people who had fled sought me out, as I had prayed. They pleaded for me to return and deliver them from this disaster. I arrived just in time. The chief of the Gauls, Brennus, was commanding the Senate to pay him gold in order to leave them alone. And this is what I told him. We Romans defend our country not with gold, but with steel. So it was not that gold that saved Rome that day, but the sword of Camillus.
The Roman Republic grew in strength and became engaged in a series of wars with the North African city of Carthage. Rome's greatest threat during these Punic Wars was from Hannibal, the great general of Carthage. He traveled thousands of miles through Hispania and over the great Italian Alps. Rome's only hope was Scipio Africanus.
When Carthage sought to conquer Rome a second time, it sent Hannibal across the Alps with war elephants to crush our army. His brother, Hasdrubal, was the first to see my sword when I repelled him from Italia. Hannibal would also witness his cold blood, and it drove his elephants to madness. I gave the short sword, the gladius, to my fellow Romans, to pierce the ranks of our enemies for as long as Rome would wield it.
Rome began to get lazy under the protection their armies provided them. There were even times of peace with Carthage, but not all Romans trusted their North African rivals.
Delenda est Carthago. I am Senator Cato, and in my opinion, Carthage must be destroyed. I felt so strongly about the destruction of Carthage that I ended every single speech I gave in the Senate with those very words, Delenda est Carthago. I lived during a time when Romans were losing sight of what really mattered. We were growing fat and lazy. We spent too much money on things we didn't really need, and it was stealing from our strength as a nation. I chose to live a different life. I lived an austere life until the old frugality. I had plain food, drank cheap wine, and had very few servants. I was made censor, and with my newfound power, I fought against frivolity and waste. People do not need to get around in carriages, they can walk. I levied taxes against items Romans held dear, like fancy furniture. and other non-essential items like jewelry. Segunda es Carthago.
The military might of Rome grew, and with it grew the power and popularity of army generals. Leaders like Julius Caesar and Pompey the Great made alliances to solidify control of the Republic.
I am the great Julius Caesar. I led armies to conquer Hispania and Gaul, and wrote about these wars in texts that would be translated by Latin school students for generations.
The whole of Gaul is divided into 3 parts, one of which the Belgae inhabit.
Stand up against Rome.
The Aquitani another.
Defend
And the third of people who in their own language are called Celts, but in ours Gauls.
I am the king of great warriors.
Pompey was a great leader of my day, and I, the great Julius Caesar, made an alliance with him, but I would share my power for only so long. Pompey came from the nobility, the upper class, but I was a man of the people, and they loved me. My greatest ambition was to rule Rome, but only Pompey stood in my way. On one fateful day, my army waited at the edge of Italy on the far side of the river Rubicon. Pompey denied me entrance to Rome. Either I would disband my army and give up my greatest ambition, or I would defy Pompey and cross the river. I chose to cross the Rubicon. The die had been cast.
Caesar marched into Italy without the slightest challenge. He crossed the Rubicon, violating Roman laws which prohibited a Roman army inside his own borders. Even so, he was celebrated by the people. They took the power of the Senate and gave it to him, and that power went to his head.
All the while, the Senate was planning on their revenge. On the Ides of March, Caesar was in the Senate pontificating about his greatness.
So in the world, 'tis furnished well with men, and men are flesh and blood, and apprehensive, yet in number. I do not know but one, that unassailable holds on his rank, unshaked of motion, that I am he. Let me a little show it. Oh, Caesar! Hence, wilt thou lift up Olympus? Great Caesar! Doth not Brutus bootless kneel? Speak hands for me! Et tu, Brute, then false Caesar!
After the assassination of Julius Caesar, there was one who denounced his murderers. His name was Mark Antony.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. This deed shall be avenged. We will not let Caesar's death be in vain. No, I'll use it to my advantage. It's Mark Antony who will rule Rome now. Come, let us find the rest of these conspirators yet and bring them to justice.
Like Pompey and Caesar before, Antony made an alliance with Caesar's descendant Octavius, but it would not last long.
I am Gaius Julius Caesar Octavius, the great-nephew of Julius Caesar. I was destined to be Caesar's heir, and my former ally Mark Antony was not going to stop me. Our fleets were battling off the coast of Actium in Greece. Suddenly, in the heat of battle, Cleopatra, the queen of Egypt, and Antony's companion, suddenly pulled her silver oars to flee. Antony chased after her, disgracefully abandoning his soldiers. I, Octavius, was now without rival. I quickly rose to supreme power as Emperor Caesar Augustus. Bringing peace and order, my reign saw the flourishing of the arts, the contentment among the common people, and the birth of the Christ. It was the beginning of a great Roman peace, the Pax Romana.
The emperors who succeeded Augustus were powerful and intelligent, but they were only occasionally good. The moral decay of Rome is often typified by the rule of Nero. Under this evil man, the Christian church saw great persecution.
Christians, a strange lot, believing in some man called Jesus that died as their Lord. Well, I showed them my lordship. One night in Rome, flames went up all over the city. It only gave me one choice, but to be reminded of Troy and its fall. It inspired me to sing and play my harp. Afterwards, I was blamed for starting the fire. So I had the Christians blamed. They were put to death in many ways, and some said I was cruel. Some even hated the Christians. But I never deserved what happened to me. Why, I had done so many things to bring beauty and art to Rome, but I was not appreciated. When a conspirator came against me, I had to feed and fall upon my own sword. What an artist the world lost that day.
Years passed, and Rome found itself being ruled by several so-called emperors who vied for control of the empire. Constantine was one of them. On the day before the battle at the Milvian Bridge, he was praying. God sent Constantine a vision of a cross of light at midday with an inscription telling him,
"By this sign you shall conquer."
Accordingly, I called on God with earnest prayer and supplications that he would reveal to me who he was, and stretch forth his right hand to help me in my present difficulties. And while I was thus praying, fervent entreaty, a most marvelous sign appeared to me from heaven. About noon, when the day was already beginning to decline, I saw with my own eyes a trophy of the cross with a light in the heavens, above the sun, and bearing an inscription, "By this sign you shall conquer." At this sight, I myself was struck with amazement, and my whole army also. Which followed me on the expedition and witnessed the miracle.
Constantine made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. By then, the empire had been divided between the east and the west. Constantine moved his government to the east, to the city that would be named after him, Constantinople. This division of the empire, along with the new official religion, Christianity, did much to benefit the church in new ways. However, it did not prevent the West from being overrun by Gauls.
Those who worshipped the old pagan gods blamed this new Christian religion for Rome's fall. In North Africa, the Christian bishop Augustus famously responded to this accusation. Was it Christianity's fault that Rome was sacked by the Gauls? No. Rome's own pride and immorality was the source of its trouble. But Christianity offered citizenship with the city of God, where sin is covered by Christ, where the pride of man is redeemed by the love of God.
Christianity is the religion worthy of your desires, O admirable Roman race, the progeny of Genus Brutus and Horatius, of Cato and of Augustus. Choose now what you pursue, that your praise may be not in yourself, but in the true God, in whom is no error, incomparably more glorious than Rome. Is that heavenly city in which for victory you have truth, for dignity, holiness, for peace, felicity, for life, eternity.